All right, so welcome everybody. My name is Michelle Avalos. I am co-founder and deputy director of Impact Hub Houston. And today you are joining us for our monthly open project night. This is a community collaboration opportunity that is hosted by the local Code for America Brigade, which is also known as Code for Houston, formerly known as Sketch City. And so if you are joining us today from the Sketch City community, welcome. We're so glad that you're here, either watching us live or catching the replay. We hope to continue to connect with you at future open project nights and at our annual hackathon and climathon that's coming up later this year. So today's session is an open project night that is focused on gender equality. Every month, Open Project Night has a different theme, and we always use the Sustainable Development Goals as a way to get everyone gathered around one big challenge or one big problem. And so we have a couple of really special guests that are actually going to kick off project presentations for us this evening. But before I introduce them, I do want to share with you a little bit more about SDG number 5 to get us in the mood, get our brains working on some possible solutions towards this issue and in preparation for the breakout rooms later today. So I'm actually going to share my screen because I like to walk us through one of my favorite websites for the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, and that's globalgoals.org. And so when you go, the reason I love this site so much is that when you go to the homepage, they do such a great job of it's constantly updated. It has all of the resources that you could need to learn more about the respective goals, to use any marketing collateral that you might want to use for your own events, for your meetups, for problem solving. They have all that here. But for me, it's also one of the easiest places to just quickly dig into any of the goals and learn more about the issues, how they're being measured, what are some of the challenges locally and abroad. And so we'll kick into SDG number 5, gender equality, achieving gender equality and empower all women and girls. And so as y'all know, it is Women's History Month. So that is also one of the reasons why we selected this goal, because we're celebrating history, we're celebrating milestones, but we're also looking towards the future. And that's why Impact Hub Houston is also here, is to help be that place for you all, our community, to help make a better future, to make the future that we want to see. And so when we scrolling down here through some of these sub-targets, gender equality is this huge feat that we're all trying to achieve. These sub-targets help us to hyper-focus our solutions, to help us focus our discussions and opportunities. And so some that I want to highlight, the sub-target number 1, end discrimination against women and girls. And it says end all forms of discrimination against all women and girls everywhere. Number 2, end all violence against and exploitation of women and girls. And this includes in the public and the private spheres. I love that they really dug into that, because there's so many things that are happening also in corporate settings, right? And there's not really a place or a platform for some of us to become strong enough to share those things and then therefore to solve those issues. And so there's a piece of that goal that is focused on that both public and private, as well as the trafficking and all types of sexual exploitation. We don't have with us today, but Elijah Rising is one of the most amazing organizations that I know of in Houston, and I'll definitely drop those links for you guys in the chat if you want to learn more about them. Next, I wanted to highlight a sub-target 5.4, which is value unpaid care and promote shared domestic responsibilities. And so I'll just read quickly: recognize and value unpaid care and domestic work through the provision of public services, infrastructure, and social protection policies, and the promotion of shared responsibility within the household and the family as nationally appropriate. And so this one's an interesting one because we have so many working moms out there, but there's still so much progress to make, especially again, going back to our corporate settings, right? Most of us have been working from home the last couple of years, but we're now truly seeing what that really means. We're truly working from home and taking care of our families at the same time. And we're seeing, some of us for the first time, what true feat it was for that individual that was at home taking care of the family to do every single day without pay, without recognition. It's not something that goes on a resume, which it should be. And so there's so much room to explore here as well during the breakout session. And then the last couple of ones I want to highlight is 5.5, which is ensuring the participation and in leadership and decision-making. That one is pivotal. This is one of those platforms for you all to share your voice and to find opportunities to be in these speaking and to be at the table and making the decisions that will impact our future. Universal reproductive health and rights. There'll be a breakout room for that later as well, if that's an area you want to target. And the last part I wanted to feature were the 5.9, which is adopting and strengthening policies and enforceable legislation for gender equality. And so I'll drop the link to the site in the chat. You guys can dig into that a little bit more. But I want to go ahead and kick us off with our guest speaker, our guest speakers who are going to kick off the conversation and the project presentations. Once they start presenting, if you do have questions or ideas, comments that come to mind, go ahead and start dropping them into the chat. And then once they are finished and once we do the Q&A, then that's where we'll do our open mic portion of this session. So if you have any ideas that you want to share before we break out into collaboration, please do that at that time. So enough about me. I'm going to go ahead and introduce our guest presenters for today. I'm so excited and thrilled to have representatives from Power on Heels Fund speaking about the great work that they are doing specifically around this topic on gender equality. And so we're going to kick off by having Ivette Mayo, who is the founder and CEO of Yo Soy I Am LLC, as well as Power on Heels Fund. So Ivette is actually an award-winning entrepreneur, international speaker, focused on professional development and also a leadership expert. And she has over 27 years of career experience working globally in the airline industry and business development, sales, marketing, training, and the list goes on and on. Yvette's going to be joined by Priscilla Picasso, who is also one of the board members of Power on Heels and who is one of the newest members of the Texas Capital Bank family. And so I'm so excited to hear from both of y'all. Yvette, I'm going to turn it over to you and I'll be here if you need anything.
Thank you and Impact Hub Houston, and also Code for Houston Open Project Night, and for having us here to discuss tonight's topic, gender equity. And it's all about gender pay equity for me when it comes to this topic. See, I am a fair pay champion. I think that everyone should be paid a fair wage for the work that they do, that they are deserving, and most importantly, they need to be valued, all right? And how you show value in the marketplace is you pay me, okay? Pay me a fair wage. So gender pay gap does not impact women in our community, but it is a social injustice faced globally. And when I say globally, please look at organizations such as Gender Pay Gap, .org. They share statistics all the time on just not only how this inequity impacts women in families and communities here in the US, but around the world. Now, interesting enough, as of 2021, the World Economic Forum predicts that it'll take 135.6 years to reach gender parity to occur when it comes to pay in this country. 135 years. Now, unfortunately, within our demographics in the US, Latinas are impacted the most. All right. So I'm not saying that white women, Asian women, African American women, nor Native American women are not important. They are impacted as well. But Latinas are at the bottom of the scale. So being Latina myself, I hail from the island of Puerto Rico. I was born there and moved to the US as a small child. My father served in the military. And so I've been in this country and I see myself moving from community to community and understanding how Latinos impact all the communities that I've been part of. But what's important to understand is that within the US, okay, within the US, Latinas are impacted by gender pay gap inequity more than any other demographic. Now, ironically enough, in 2019, which is pre-pandemic, which we'll talk about that here in a minute, nearly 3.25, okay, million, 3 million, a little plus over that, family households headed by Latinas. And at least 40% of those households live below the poverty line. Now, this is an ironic statistic because Latinas are more educated than ever before. All right, they're US citizens, they're part of communities, they're paying taxes, they're driving on our roads, and they're participating at higher levels than ever before in the workforce. Yet, they are paid less than everyone else. Now, what's sad to say is that yesterday was a very sad day. I think I was not only sad, but I was just thoroughly, all right, because statistics came out on Women's Equal Pay Day yesterday, and I think some of you saw everything on social media and all the push out there. But one of the things that I want you to remember is that women deal with social bias every day, but wage gap is a big deal. And yesterday we were not celebrating, but commemorating what it takes for a woman of white descent to reach the same pay as her white male counterpart. That is what Equal Pay Day represents. Now, what's interesting enough, the statistics came out from various different organizations. Yesterday, I read an article on the Washington Post that made me just come unrailed. Why? Because from 2021, Latinas used to make 58 cents in comparison to her white male counterpart. What happened in the statistics that came out yesterday, she has now gone down to 49 cents. She's not only making less money, but it's taking her even longer to achieve the same pay as her white male counterpart in the same role at doing the same work. Now, I know that sounds like, okay, for any gentlemen who are on here, I want you to know that this is just the comparisons that how they gauge this, but white men are paid the highest level. So all these comparisons are to how these women, especially Latinas, compare to them. So again, not only are we not only paid the less, but we're actually decreasing. The pandemic didn't help us. What's interesting in that is that families have less money and services that drive our economy, but also it's interesting is that they can't support their communities either. So this is a hardship. So now you understand why this is important to me and why I was mad, because families cannot take care of themselves and their needs. When it comes to Power on Heels Fund, we created, our organization with the notion to help Latinas, all women, to become their own best advocate regarding gender pay gap inequity. Now, it's a global phenomenon. It is something that's impacted industries all over the country. So we can't change the world. We can't fix everything. But how can we make every individual woman become her own best advocate regarding her own personal situation, her own pay? See, our key aim is improving the social and economic empowerment of Latina students, professionals, and business owners. Most importantly, to adapt a healthier attitude and behavior about their financial situation, and to enhance individual growth, optimize their talents, create future leaders that are confident and are willing to just do more than enough to make and influencing the future. But doing this and ensuring that they can secure a fair pay. That's not too much to ask, but helping these women, most importantly, minimize this social inequity called gender pay gap. I became an advocate of this particular topic when I realized this reality. It's a reality that we all face. Being Hispanic and figuring out that my counterparts, I was being paid a less wage, that I wasn't being rewarded or giving a deserving pay for what I did. Now think about you. Let's take gender away. Let's take heritage away, mindsets away. You are applying for a job or you received a job and the person next to you is being paid a higher wage for the same effort that you're making. Let me ask you, would you be upset? But the question I want to ask you is, what are you going to do about it? So we're all about creating that change. We at Power on Heels, we view women empowerment through the lenses of Latinas, whose growth has been challenged by these biases and these social norms, cultural beliefs, or these institutional processes that are in place to keep them behind. We want to make sure that we make every woman, every Latina, her own best advocate. So before I turn over our presentation to Priscilla, I want to share this simple quote. Community engagement is at the heart of change. So as you hear more about Power on Heels, I want to ask you this question. How can you help us be part of that change? So give me a quick second. Let me bring up these slides as Priscilla presents herself and lets you know more about Power on Heels.
Thank you, Yvette. And Michelle and Impact Hub Houston, thank you so much for not only having us on here and allowing us to talk about our organization and our mission, but also for providing this forum on a monthly basis. I think it's a great forum. Just having the community come together and collaborate on solutions for these global issues is amazing. And so I just want to say thank you. And so good evening, everybody. As Yvette mentioned, my name is Priscilla Picasso. I am actually a business banking relationship manager at Texas Capital Bank. I have over 25 years of banking experience. I work directly with our small business owners and our small business community to help them scale their business, grow their business, provide solutions, and be an advisor and mentor to them. And so based on and I'm also on the Power on Heels board. I am the education and programs chair. And based on everything that Yvette just mentioned regarding the gender pay gap and the gender inequality, I'm very proud to serve as a member on the board and to work towards our mission and making an impact on the community as far as what we can do. And so I want to share first about who we are, Power on Heels Fund. So we're actually a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We're focused on the advancements of Latinas and by helping decrease the impact in gender pay gap has on their earning potential. So by supporting Latinas in their professional and economic growth, we're able to assist in the following areas. So one, increase their earning potential. Two, accelerate their career advancement. And we're so proud that we can cultivate future leaders by doing this. And then also encourage financial mastery, which we'll talk about more in just a second. And so some of the ways that we're able to accomplish this, we're able to do it through our specialized programs, mentorship, and scholarship programs. So Power on Heels Fund influences the Latinas of all ages, all industries, and all backgrounds. So from now to 2025, our goal is to impact the lives of 10,000 Latinas locally, regionally, and nationally. So we do this a few different ways. We have an education program. It's called Latina Power Purse Program. Right now we have 4 of those scheduled for this year. We also have a Latina Building Wealth series that we have as a partnership with Chase. and we have 4 of those scheduled as well. We have a Latina Power Academy. We also have our annual fundraiser that's coming up on March 26th, which is going to be lots of fun, and we'll share on how to get more information on that. And then in November, we have our 4th annual conference and scholarship awards as well. So we want Latinas and all women to be your own best advocate. As Ivette mentioned earlier, if we have to start with ourselves and advocating for ourselves. I think so many times us as women, we're everybody's advocate, but we put ourselves last. By putting ourselves first and being our biggest advocate, we can help more people. We can impact our community even that much more. So I ask that we be our own best advocate. So we have also a few asks from today. One is we're always looking for sponsors for our programs and events, either individual events or some of our education programs. You know, that's something that we're looking for. Another ask that we have is we'd love to expand our board. So if you're interested in talking to Ivette and becoming part of the board or a committee, please reach out to us. Especially we're looking for a legal person to serve on our board of directors. So if you know someone that you can connect us with that you think would be interested, we'd love to hear from them. We also are looking for to add different events to our to the curriculum. So we'd love to hear on any donated space that you guys might know of, or somebody that you can connect us to, so we can talk about that. Also brand recognition and building the awareness around Power on Heels, and also connecting us with people who want to join. We're always looking for mentors, for not only for part of our programs, but also to engage with our organization. We are always looking for connectors and collaborators as well. And here are some ways that you can contact us. You can visit our website, www.poweronheelsfund.org. For events, you can go to that website, www.poweronheelsfund.org/events. And then you please connect and follow us on social media. And it's at Power on Heels F. I'm gonna turn it back over to Michelle.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Priscilla and Ivette. This is wonderful. Thanks for, you can go ahead and leave the slide up for a little longer just so that folks have time to write those things down and connect with you all. So everyone, if you have any questions before we break into the collaboration rooms, does anyone have any specific questions right now for Ivette and Priscilla that you want to drop in? You can either put them in the chat or unmute yourselves. While you do that, I just wanted to share that I love this. I love that you guys are doing this work. Something that really resonates with me is I wrote it down because it was so good. You're helping us become our own best advocates. And I think that's one of the things that, like, I mean, I personally struggle with that even today. And as having someone that, like, I was in corporate America for 5 years and I was there in those roles, in those positions. However, I still felt like I always felt less than, and it was just hard because I was the only one, literally I was the only woman there. I was the first female hired at my job out of college. I was the only Latina. I was the youngest one by far. And it was so hard for me to put into practice the things that I was taught in school, even on those, like, you know, the professional development, all those pieces, when like every day I would show up to work, but I was the only one and I was not seeing anyone else like just role model that. And as a first generation college student as well, like it was just so hard, just to be completely transparent. And so for me, organizations like Alpha, I was really involved with the Association of Latino Professionals for America and served on their board for a few years. But having to reach out to organizations like that were the ones that were kind of helping me and mentoring and guiding along the way. And so I'm so glad that Power on Heels exists, because we need more of this for sure.
Yeah, Michelle, thank you for sharing that. You're so right. I call it the voice within. You know, a lot of time, especially in banking and in business banking, especially it's still very male dominated. And so a lot of times, you know, you have a voice within you that's telling you one thing just because of who we are culturally, right? And not seeing a lot of people that look like us, and just changing that voice and changing what we're saying to ourselves. And that's how we can start to become our biggest advocate. I remember one time, you know, I specifically remember when I changed the voice in my head, instead of saying, you know, you're lucky to be here. No, they're lucky to have me, you know, and that's just one example of where you start changing that dialogue in your own head that you have to yourself, that you can make a huge change and pivot into becoming your own advocate.
I love that. I love that. They are lucky to have me. Amen, sister. Double snaps. That's awesome. But you know, one of the things you have to remember, you said something that's really important here, and I want this. I see that we have a variety of different people online, is that culture is a big factor here. And culture is situational. Okay. Think about the people who taught you your belief systems in their times. Okay, when we think about I'll be 60 this year, later in September. I know I don't look it, preserved in Crisco oil, but the reality of it is that my parents grew up in the 50s. They grew up on an island, and then when we moved to the United States, now I'm being raised in a community unlike anything they knew. So what they had within their toolkit, right? So things have changed so much. Think about the strides we've made in technology. Think about all the different things that we've had to adapt and change to. But unfortunately, when it comes to leadership and how we approach our job growth and how we think about ourselves and the positions we hold, some of those cultural mindsets from the past still hold true. In order for us to move forward in our new roles in life and where we want to go and who we want to be, we have to, one, feel comfortable, to be courageous, to step outside of those norms that have been culturally designed. Safe. Did you hear the word? Safe. All right. Secondly, we also have to be brave enough to make decisions to move us forward. So now you have to proactively take action, and that's making a decision. The second is actually taking action, right? I remember when I was going to apply for a job, I was in banking forever ago, and I told a friend during lunch, the first thing she told me is, oh, you can't apply for that. They're not going to give it to you because you're a woman and you're Latina and no one has ever done that before, right? Well, I think we also have to become comfortable with the first in a lot of things. And I cannot wait. Did you hear me? Wait. When we are no longer saying that she's the first this, he's the first that, and achieving these positions, I want that whole statement removed from our society. Okay, I just think that is it's so wasted, right? But what's important is from now on, when you hear someone who says, I want to do this, encourage them. I don't care if they're male, female, Black, Hispanic, Asian, 60, 30, it doesn't matter. Encourage them. We need to see their faces. One of the things people, women and people of color, people who are, because now that if you're over 40, you're a minority. If you're disabled, you're a veteran, you have additional considerations. I think it's so important that we start pushing forward and getting past this first and only, and get to the point and feeling comfortable is, I cannot wait to be disruptive. Do you hear that word? Disruptive. Write that down, put it, hashtag.
Yvette's like disruptive, and I immediately feel uncomfortable. I'm like, I don't want to.
You know what? You know what disruptive means?
I love it.
You're changing something normal, right? Normal it is fictional. What is normal? The last 2 years have totally destroyed what normal is, right? And so one thing that we have to be comfortable with is that word disruptive. You are a disruptor, all right? So whether you are male, female, person of color, whatever category, whatever, you know, just feel comfortable in your courage and your bravery and your confidence that you know you can do this. Now, if there are women out here, one thing that really bothered me, I would tell a friend again, you know, because we work within our network. And if your network is this, it's time to change your network, right? Put people on around you that are going to support you and advocate for you and support you up, not down or back. All right, not down or back. We are trying to move forward and up. All right, and if they don't possess the language or the energy, then it's time to check them off and move them to the side. And the reason is because we're in a new place. And not only do we need to lead, but we need to hear this word, influence. Influence. All right. So if you are in a position where you're not in a position of influence, then what I'm asking you now is that you need to step forward and know and communicate that you are ready and you're ready to go and you're committed to that. And so I think it's so important that we think about what the last 2 years have done to our world. And we can see people have lost their jobs, people are making less money, things are going up, communities are changing all over the world. Your world has changed, my world has changed, but what's so important is the ability to influence. So in order to do that, you have to lead. And in order to lead, you have to step up. So those people who you tell you're going to apply for something and they tell you, they're never going to give you that job, you know, because you're a woman, you're Black, you're over 40. They'll probably retire you before they hire you, right? What I'm telling you is don't listen to those people. Get rid of them and move forward in that. If you feel it and you know you can do it, the potential of you creating something phenomenal for everyone is there. And that's what influence is, bringing something in that space. So don't deny yourself the opportunity of growth, to lead and to influence. But I'm taking you back to that word. In order to do that, you have to be disruptive.
I love it. Well, I see some really great feedback for that in the chat as well from Jamie saying it's a hashtag disruptive, love, love, love it. So Ivette and Priscilla, thank you all so much. Folks, if you have more questions for them, we're going to do the breakout room in just a second. And so then you'll be able to connect with them directly. So now we're going to transition into the open mic portion of this session. And so I've just dropped into the chat the questions to follow as you start presenting your projects. And so first we have Niall, who's signaled that Niall, you have something to share. And so to reminder, you have max 2 minutes, and I'll be timing you, and to share what this project or idea is. The focus should ideally be today's theme. However, if you have something else that's pressing that you want to share, you can do that as well. Give a brief introduction of yourself and the project. Let us know what stage you're currently at. What are your next series of steps? And most importantly, what are you looking for in the way of talent, skills, support, etc. So Niall, I'll kick off with you first. Go ahead.
Hello, everyone. So my name is Niall Dixon, and I'm going to kind of start off by introducing this weird problem that I've noticed, and granted other people have noticed, so I'm not the only one that's noticed this. But if you go into like Google Translate and you type in like, if you pick like English and then let's say Swahili as the language that you want to translate into, and you type in the sentence, she is a doctor, right? You'll get some sort of Swahili text. If you copy that text and then paste it back and then have it translate back into English, it will actually translate it to he is a doctor instead of she is a doctor. And that's something that you see with other gendered, kind of like gendered professions, in quotation marks. They're not really gendered, but because of bias and stuff like that, we've gendered them such that you could put he is a nurse and then translate it back from the response and it turns it into she is a nurse. it's a big problem with these things called word embeddings, and that's one thing that I've been trying to address. There's been a lot of research in regards to like de-biasing the word embeddings, but usually those methods still keep still embed the bias in them, just to a lesser degree. So the proposal that I had was to like just simply start from scratch instead of using internet dialogue and all of that stuff to train as word embeddings, creating a set of gender neutral sentences that allow for us to like train language models that aren't biased. So instead of using Reddit posts and Twitter posts where people are generally sexist and biased and racist and all that stuff, create synthetic sentences that are gender neutral, so that when we train these word embeddings, they don't actually capture that bias. This was an idea that I had like in my master's project that I had. So it was just very conceptual, but anyone who's like interested in research, I would love just help in like, thinking about how to like approach that particular project.
I love that. That's so good, Niall. Thank you. Your time's up. However, I've made a breakout room, so I've just called it gender-based search terms. Is that I have limited keys here that I can put in the name of the group. So
yeah, I mean, it extends to like a lot of different things, like resume ranking and all of that. Like, yeah.
Okay. So I made that room, so that'll be open when we break. So next I have Hussein. You get 2 minutes.
Hey everyone, thank you for having me. And so my project is really related to my startup. So I have been doing digital signage for a long time, and digital signage is TV displays at place of businesses. So restaurants have digital menu boards, office lobbies have digital directories. We're seeing more and more displays being placed at more and more businesses. So as I sort of look at the problem of digital signage and I try to solve this, there's also an opportunity of using the space on these displays for community messaging. And, that's something that I've been thinking about for a while. How do I sort of bake this into a for-profit business model? So what I'm sort of basing this community messaging is sort of under the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So, personally, I am passionate about goal number 2, hunger, and some of those issues, and then also climate action. I'm part of the City of Houston Equity Working Group on climate action. So I see that there's a lot of things happening, but it's the community that's not either aware of them, or these informations kind of stay in the silos of people who want to learn. They will find these places and they'll learn. But I think having a community-wide digital display network which operates within the city, and there's some efforts around the city, like the city's putting these huge displays in 25 locations around downtown in really visible places. These are outdoor displays. There's some challenges and issues with it. So I want to grow something which is almost like a community TV owned by community. So I don't think anybody has ever done that, where the display solutions are owned by businesses that are part of the community. The content creation side, even the information that's being shared is coming from the community. And then the monetization is from the brands that are conscious about these issues. So that's where I see this all coming together. But if you're more interested in learning more about this, my company is called hd2menus.com. So we are focused on obviously digital signage and menu boards, but that's sort of the next chapter in the growth for the company, is where we kind of open it up into a business solution as well as a community-wide solution as well.
Thank you, Hussein.
Thank you.
So I've made that group, I'm calling it Community Digital Display, just so that it's easy to find on the breakout room. And you do already have some comments from Misael on this, asking if you've looked at the city's kiosks, et cetera. So maybe you guys can connect in the breakout room.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. And then I know that I had somebody, Jamie, Jamie is not available to present, but Jamie, if you have something you want to pitch, feel free to unmute yourself, or I can figure out how to get you a room, set up a breakout room for you later when you're able to share. So, okay, y'all, with that, we are actually going to go ahead and open these rooms.